Well, hello, Music Multiverse listeners. Welcome to Beyond Your Radio and our latest album listen challenge, episode 4. Tonight, the youngest panelists go head to head. Two albums. Neither have heard the album they've listened to before that they've been given. Before we get into the albums, each have listened to for at least, 4 or 5 days or a week, depending on when they got it. I have no idea. Uh, have you subscribed to the channel? We still remain at 69 subscribers. While that's a sexy number, we know you're out there. And we hope,
Nice.
yes, we hope
Yeah.
tonight's Listen Challenge and other programs finally get you to clicky clicky. What other channel gives you an album a day video? For those of you who have
And celebrates getting 66 subscribers. I mean, come on.
yeah.
Those don't come around every 5 minutes.
For those of you who have subscribed, always thank you. We have had some cool comments and a committee trying to induct In Excess into the Hall of Fame, which has had some nice comments, and they've been sharing that. I appreciate that. We hope they get in or get at least nominated to get in. We love to respond to all these comments. Trust me, so send them. Please remember, each panelist will reveal the album they received. They'll set the expectation, discuss it a bit, and then score it. Now, that score, in case you're wondering what that format is, the album artwork will be number 1, and that's 0 to 5. 0 being, ooh, what did they do? And 5, wow, it's a masterpiece. The album full of music, 0 to 5. The musicianship, band or melody, at 0 to 5. Accessibility, 0 to 5. 0 meaning it's not easy to listen to and will take the listener a long time to get into. 5 meaning it's a very easy listening album. And then album production, we'll finish it off. I'll total those up. We keep score. Somebody wins. The other one goes home loser crying. No, we don't keep. Yeah, we keep score, but it doesn't mean a thing. And then at the end, I will ask each panelist, where does this fall in your listening habit? Is it one and done? Not for me, which could be. I like it. It could grow on me, maybe. I really enjoyed it, and it will probably become an album I go back to from time to time. And then finally, I can't believe I missed this. It's one of my new favorite albums of all time. It's happened. It's happened. Trust me. All right. Let's get
I was
into
curious if it ever did or not.
Yes, it did.
I had that happen to me. Deb did Breakfast in America, and I'm still listening to it. So,
And the Grateful Dude, when I gave him the Murder Wall, that's one of his favorite records. You can't believe he didn't hear. I wouldn't put that on my list, but it's certainly a folk progressive rock masterpiece for a lot of people. Well, since let's start the show with Everett. What album did Alex give you?
all right. This week, Alex gave me an album I had never heard about, but that's not too uncommon. I'm not really deep into alternative music and rock and whatnot. An album called The Morning Report by the Arkles.
Arkels.
That actually,
That's
I
okay.
don't know. I feel like they both sound good though. I don't feel like one is Arkles. I don't know, but I kind of went into Urkel. Yeah, we don't like him. So I went into this album not entirely knowing what to expect. I'm not gonna lie. I have never heard of the Arkles, and I don't
Arkels.
Arkels. Dang it! We'll get that by the end of the show.
Celtic.
I'll have it down.
There
Have
you
it
go.
down by the end of the show.
He's gonna have all of Hamilton, Ontario marching.
I'm telling you right now, he can't. That's why he doesn't show up for albums from the league.
No, I don't. Canada. Just
I think he's banned now.
Toronto. What kind of city is that? Toronto. I don't know. Toronto. Yeah.
Toronto.
So I went in. I haven't listened to a lot of alternative rock. The closest I've gotten to alternative is, yeah, no, I haven't got close to it at all. So I didn't know what to expect. So I went in a little bit, skeptical, because when I hear alternative rock, I think of mostly just like, that kind of sounded weird, and I didn't really know what he was saying, and I'm not entirely sure what was happening. But I'll say I was pleasantly wrong. it was fun. I liked the fact that I could actually understand what they were saying on the album. There
Yeah.
wasn't like that crazy over distortion, I have no idea what he's saying, but there also wasn't that conforming to like your classic pop sound as far as vocals go. It sounded different. Like that's something that I kind of like about like older music is you don't have that whole thing about auto tune where it kind of just makes everything sound so similar. You
Yep.
have people that like, I mean, arguably, what is it? Bon Scott, AC/DC singer.
Mhm.
I wouldn't put him in the
Yeah.
top 10 as having the most beautiful voices or whatever. Cause I mean, it sounds like he's been smoking since he was like 2.5. But I mean, it totally fits and it gives so much character to the whole album. And I feel like that really helped. That was really something that I was pleasant to see in this album by the Arkells. I did it on the morning report.
Impression.
So that I know I'm working on it. So that was something I was kind of like, oh, that's nice. And the musicianship was pretty good too, I liked the because I play the drums, so I was like I kind of like to like get into like because my brain just immediately goes to can I feel the bass drum in there somewhere? Like,
Mhm.
like I can focus all I want on the guitar or the keyboards or the oboe or whatever, but my brain is just like, I don't know what any of
Oboe.
that means. Like, I don't know what's happening here. But like, there was a good bass feel that I appreciated. So
Cool.
I would say overall a pleasant surprise. The only main thing I would say is that it did kind of feel like they started to blend together a little bit as the song went on. Like, I didn't listen to this album as much as
Interesting.
I would have liked to. It's been a bit of a hectic week, but I listened to it 2 or 3 times. And to me, it just never, like, there were definitely some standouts. Like Drake's Dad, that one was kind of a fun. I was like, oh, this is kind of, that kind of like, it's a good hook into the album. So that was
Yeah.
kind of pleasant. But I don't think there was a couple others like Private School. That one was kind of, I don't know if cute's the right word, but it was, had a not cute. Yeah, cute's not the right word, but it had a interesting vibe to it.
Okay.
So to me, it kind of felt like the songs did start to bleed together a little bit. And if you weren't super paying attention to the songs, you could easily think that you were just listening to one super long song instead of, however many tracks were on the album.
Okay.
But I
That's
mean,
that's like a weird backhanded way to describe album flow.
yeah,
It's it's pretty much right, right?
I mean,
I guess
but
on that note, am I asking you your scoring now, or you got anything else?
Uh, well, sort of. With the flow, I will say though that even though it did feel all very similar, I didn't dislike it, you know. I
Right.
liked it, but I feel like it would work better as like an album that you have shuffled in with a bunch of other albums, so that you kind of get some difference in between them. Versus instead of just listening it from track 1 to track 12.
Right.
Kind of feel like that would really, help it be a little more. It would
Yeah.
help break up that almost like gray, like the blobness that you start to get near the end of some songs, where you're just like, we're at the end of the album. Just,
Okay. I
but
can. Well, go. Yeah. I'll give you the rundown here, right? So
all right.
so artwork 0 to 5. They got a cover here. Whoa, wait a minute. What am I even? I'm slacking. These whole background things, man. Why do I even do them if I'm not going to show them, right?
Why do you got to be the host and the producer?
Jeez.
Well, life,
Gotta
life
get,
in
we
the
gotta get
life,
Sue producing.
life in the slow lane.
Yeah, gotta start somewhere.
Gonna work. There we go. Okay, so here's the morning report. Paper, very grimacing, shattered, multi-dimensional, thing going on.
Yeah.
What say you?
I'm gonna have to give it a 5. I'm kind of a sucker. I kind of like the almost comic book-esque Marvel style that went
I
with
knew that was a good one for that.
yeah. I, I like it. I like the whole like setup of it where it's on a newspaper. I'm like, that's clever. That's smart.
N-
And it easily conveys what the album's title is, and you're not like, I can't read anything that's on there. What is it saying? Are those words necessary for me? It's very straight, it's to the point, but it also's got some character that I like.
Now, does this relate to the album itself and the songs inside?
Not terribly.
I agree.
But I mean, as a piece of objective art by itself, I like it.
Good. How about the flow of this record?
I'm gonna have to give that one a 3 because I already talked about it. I'm not gonna go over it again. It feels like it sags in the middle just a little bit.
Okay. Musicianship, band, melody.
I'll give that one a 4 too. I mean, the music definitely served the song. Nothing felt out of place. Nobody was doing a guitar solo where there really didn't need to be a guitar solo. But it never really. I know, just cramming a guitar solo at the end of every verse, get Freebird in there at the, 12-hour song. But so, I mean, but there was nothing that really jumped out to me as like, whoa, that is something I have not heard before, or that's in a new context. So nothing brand new, but they did nothing wrong. They were all perfectly good for the song. They all perfectly served the music.
Okay. So, what about accessibility? How easy is this record to get into for most people or you?
See, that one is, I'm a little.
I mean, you're not an alternative guy, so
No,
and this
so, I
falls
mean,
all indie rock kind of thing.
Yeah, I'll give that one a 4 too. You
So
know,
it's relatively easy.
it's pretty. I don't think everybody and their grandma is gonna go out there and be like, "Wow, that was a great album." But I don't think you're gonna turn that on at the dentist, and somebody's gonna be coming up to the dentist office. Turn that off. What the heck is this? Turn it off. I don't think you're gonna be getting anybody dying for it to be turned off. But I don't think it's something that everybody is gonna love with all their heart. But I don't think it's something that anybody's gonna really dislike.
Right. So, and then finally, how was the production of the record?
I'll give this one a 3.5.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like more often than not, I could hear more of the music, and the vocals sounded a little bit like they just needed to turn up the vocals on the volume track on the vocal track, like 3 or 4, clicks up,
Yeah.
and it would have been fine. But I mean,
Interesting.
and that's just a me thing. But I mean, besides that, I can't think of anything that jumped out to me as something they did bad.
And a big reason why I gave you this album, it's for the same reason you gave me the one you did. It's kind of me being the one to push you forward while I kind of get pulled back a little bit in terms of the actual era where it comes from. I say that because I love that you've picked out Drake's Dad and Private School, because those are two of the most fun songs that they make, and they never play them live.
Really?
And they're known as a fun band. And so it's funny because a lot of the popular songs from this album were from the back half of it. I know And Then Some has been used as a wedding song a lot, and I just know this because the band reposts that stuff a lot. Some of the hidden gems in the middle of it are some of my favorites in there. Even when I first listened to Round and Round, which is right in the middle of the album, I heard it as this slow melodic song at first, and being in singles mindset, I'm like, yeah, no, next song, whatever.
Right.
And just finally letting this album play one day, you get to the back half of that song, and it goes from just this acoustic solo-y sound over the vocals to the full band jumping in around the halfway mark, and a totally different sound of the song.
Yeah, that was something I was noticing, like on the Drake's Dad song. Like it felt like there was just a point where I actually went, because I was working on homework or something while I was listening to it, and I actually jumped over to the other tab thinking, I was like, oh, what is this song? This one's kind of, only to be surprised that it was the exact same song. I was like, really?
I'll tell you too, like with this band, they're a fun band, like live. So you mentioned like the singer's voice and how he is, like he's moving through the crowd during shows. He is nonstop dancing during the performance. Like seeing them live, they entertain just as much as they're a musical group. They're very much about the performance and the show aspect of it, to the point that I think there was one time on their Instagram they went through how they build their set list and their interaction with the crowd and go through all that. And I know it's not a conventional band from the sense of they always like trying to do something different.
Yeah.
So while there is a traditional aspect to them, in terms of having meaning behind stuff, so Mark talks about the album cover not necessarily relating to the songs itself,
Right.
but they're not afraid to try things that are a little different in there. Like me and Mark discussed this, but they did when Laundry Pile came out, their last album, they went to a laundromat in Toronto and did like 20-30 minutes cycles with people in a line outside. And what they did was they pulled 6 shirts out of a dryer with the song titles from the album on them and played them in the laundromat to a group of 20 people. When those 6 are done, they shuffle out, a new group of people come in, did another new random one out of the dryer and went with it. Fun little things like that were fan activity. It was a really cool experience. So this album, for not being one of their popular and big hit single-y type albums, or having a track on them, I thought it was one of the more complete albums that I've heard them do, and one of my favorites.
And I mean, you can definitely hear what you're talking about. They all sound like they work together pretty well, you know. There's not like, the bassist isn't doing his own thing while the guitarist is over in La La Land doing whatever the heck he wants to do. No, they all, like I said, they all worked really well together.
And I like hearing what you had to say about it before I kind of add some of the context to it of just knowing the band myself and how they act.
I mean, I can definitely see them as being like, I watched their music videos a little bit. I didn't super watch them, because like I said, I just had them playing in the background, but I would click over a couple times. And the kind of vibe I got from the little bit of the music videos that I watched and the music is that this is definitely a band that's willing to kind of try new things. Which I'm like, that's probably pretty, that's always nice, because I mean, now
If
for
you're in a
granted,
band, isn't it what you want? You want a little bit
Yeah.
of, I don't do the same thing all the time.
yeah, because I mean, for every, 9 things that are just whatever, that was stupid. You get one, I don't know, Stairway to Heaven or something, one thing where it's like, whoa, that just takes
And
the
I don't
world
think
by
you're going
storm.
to get a Stairway to Heaven on this album,
No.
but I think
No.
what's interesting is when you said how it kind of meshed together. It's funny because normally I feel that way about a lot of albums, where it blends in and I get lost in it and maybe I zone out my attention span a little bit. There's tracks on here that I'll hear them if I'm in a shuffle mode and one of them comes on that's like the 10th track and I'm like, I love this song, got to keep it on.
Yeah.
So it's opposite for me when it comes to them.
And now I didn't listen to it as much as I would like to. I kind of think I'm gonna have to listen to it a couple more times to fully, let my opinions on it mature and kind of like fully come. But I like, to where I think, I can see what you mean though. Like, I mean, when I would like super hard pay attention to a song and would like just spend a couple minutes sitting down, I could definitely, oh, that one was kind of fun.
So on that, where does this fall in your listening habit? One and done, I like it, it could grow on me, or is it I really enjoyed it, it'll probably become an album I go back to from time to time, or I can't believe I missed this, it's one of my new favorites?
I'm gonna have to go with the I really enjoyed it one.
Okay.
I don't see it being one that I come back to, like I go out purposely looking for. If I find it and I come across it like in my, like listening through music and I see, I'm like, oh, that's cool, and I'll listen to it again. But
Are you gonna
I
look
don't
at,
think.
would you be interested in other albums now or no?
Yeah, I'm probably actually gonna go, because if
Okay.
Alex is telling me, he's like, this isn't their biggest album. I'm like, well, this album is still pretty good. So now I'm kind of curious how good
Well,
their biggest
yeah,
album is.
this is not where I would have started you. Wouldn't have been my choice.
Yeah.
Their
I mean,
their debut record was one of the best debuts in Canada that year in 2008, and that's called Jackson Square.
Yeah.
But they
that
followed it
was
up
a huge album.
They followed it up with Michigan Left, which is a very good album. And High Noon, I don't even remember right at this moment, but I remember when Morning Report came out. Like, what's with all the swearing? What's with all the swearing? Because they weren't
Yeah.
that band prior. And
I
you know,
don't
I
think that
understand
I don't think this album still is that. I think outside of maybe this private school, I don't think there's really a whole ton throughout it.
Drake's dad got it on there. There's like 7 or 8 songs that have vulgarity all through it, which is not something it was to me, that's what stood out because I don't know why it did, but it just did. There were catchy grooves. This had a more groove base than the prior records in a more modern sense. But yeah, the other two are more straightforward rock band finding its way. And that's what's the raw kind of feel of. But you know, again, that's just me. That's why I love these things because someone says, geez, you know, I'd like to hear what the other albums sound like. And if let's say this was Def Leppard, you go, well, if you go to the other albums, they're going to sound just like the other albums, right? But
Right.
you know, here this is going to be completely different wherever you go, and they even do songs acoustically and electronically, and they mess with things. They're an interesting band. But we'll move on because the audience just left us. So, Alex, what album were you given?
Well, I'll be shorter and sweeter on this, but I think that's also because that was a big trait of the album. I got the self-titled album by the Eagles. I'm trying to figure out where I want to start with this. I know it's been an inside joke between the group. I didn't know Don Henley was in the Eagles. Ha ha. Let's get the joke
in that
out
first
there.
record, Don Henley didn't know he was in the Eagles. He's only on one song. He only sings on one song. So
I'll say as a whole, this album, I've obviously heard Take It Easy. And I think honestly, looking back in some way, I've heard Witchy Woman, and I don't know where or how. There was just a familiarity there when I heard it. But have I ever sat down and said I'm listening to the Eagles album today? No, I've never done that, and especially this album. So that's why I thought this made it a good fit for me, and to go back on it. Was really kind of surprised I haven't dove into this more. Just given that it'll kind of. I'm going to go into the scoring because I think it'll kind of help me talk about it a little bit more. The artwork. Cover. There was a story when I tried to read about the artwork to this album, and the story really didn't catch for me at all. I think it's kind of bland. I just gave the artwork a 2 because it just kind of is what it is there. Don't really understand the artwork to it. It's just art, and it's kind of boring to me, at least. But
well, okay. So I just want to say, okay, so at least it's at the top.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're out, remember this is 1970.
That is true. I didn't even think about that.
There's no CD. There's no cassette.
That's fair.
Right. So, but it who took this picture? I mean, National Geographic's probably got people that you could have the most beautiful picture known to man of an eagle. This looks out of focus. It's shadowed. I don't know. And it's kind of small. Wouldn't you make it bigger? Eagles, right? It's your name, man. I mean, the cactuses.
Well, there's something with the Joshua tree in this photo
Joshua tree.
And I didn't get that out of this at all.
No.
So that's why I kind of my knock on this entire album, the biggest knock I have at all is just going to be that. Just because like I don't get the album cover. If that's the worst thing about this album, that's the best part about this review. So the flow I gave a 3 because it had a little bit to where Everett's ears I can understand. You mentioned it when you were reviewing my album. You like things to have a little bit of a switch up in there.
Yeah.
And I'm the opposite of why I liked it was because it flowed through. So there's a little bit of a hop throughout it in the 10 tracks. I gave the flow a 3 because it was right in the middle. Like it wasn't bad. It wasn't amazing and did it
was perfectly adequate.
Yes. So that's exactly where I would put it.
I can agree with that.
Take It Easy is a mellower song. Witchy Woman gets a little bit darker, thanks Don Henley. Chug All Night has a really surprising rock sound to it. But then you go to Most of Us Are Sad, and you're like, oh, fuck, where'd that come from out of Chug All Night? And then you go to Nightingale, and it's back up again. And so it jumped through there a little bit. I actually thought that the B side of the album was probably flowier than the A side. especially when you go on the side two, train leaves here this morning, take the devil, or early bird, peaceful, easy feeling, and trying. So,
Right.
that was my observation on that part of it. The melody and the music's a 5. Like the guitar I loved, the noticeability of the background vocals, and then
Harmony.
yeah, it just, you knew it was there and it wasn't too much. I thought it perfectly matched where it was placed in each song. I thought it was very properly placed, and it was attentively done that way. So I was really impressed by that, and I really enjoyed that. So I gave the melody and the music a 5. It hit the spot. The drumming wasn't overdone. It just very much kept the group on pace throughout. And even for switching up the sounds, nothing was out of place. Whether it was a slower ballady type song, or whether it was something that was a little more up tempo, or going into accessibility, I mean, that got a 5 for me too. So talking about that all mixed together, like this could be playing while I'm sitting on a patio somewhere, and it wouldn't feel out of place. It would feel like it's something that's just very easy. It's a safe sound to put on. You're gonna get generations like, well, now myself and even Everett in this, that the younger generation that like it. You're gonna get the people who came from that generation of listening to that'll like it. So
Although
nothing
I
was,
think I'm the exception. I was kind of forced fed the Eagles at first.
but you start somewhere. That's
You
why I
know,
gave you the album
it
I did, was
started with
because I
listening to Hotel California on repeat for like 2 weeks, and
honestly though, like
incrementally.
that's where it's one of those things. That's why I gave you the album I did, was because I knew what background you had in music in terms of what your sound was that you'd been brought into it. So, but I think the accessibility, it talks about that. It just brings together a mix of listening styles that can easily get into this. And I mean, quite honestly, for someone like me who's enjoyed harder, more modern rock, um, you can hear influences that from this, of where it may have started before, that trickle through the ages and still start to show their heads a little bit later on. Even like when I listen to Tryin', the last track of the entire album, it's like that could have influenced Boston. When I heard it, like, I'm not saying it's identical, and I know the eras are close here. I'm just saying that you could hear where that could have influenced a band like that. It just, there's things in there that you can tell where it's from. Early Bird, I thought, actually was one of the more creative songs in terms of using an instrument to really give the setting and the vibe of what the title was, and it fit that way.
Yeah.
I'd probably have to say, like, my least favorite track was probably Most of Us Are Sad, because it immediately brought me down from a good album, mood wise, for a second.
I mean, Meisner, right?
Yeah.
Right? I don't know why I want to say
Well,
that, but
funny enough, so on that song, Glenn Frey wrote that, he sang it, but Meisner had 2 songs that he wrote and sang on side 2, and they were awesome tracks. So it's just funny to me that I thought Meisner, I loved, like, Take the Devil and Tryin' were his, and I was fine with them. But then to see that he sang lead vocals when Frey wrote Most of Us Are Sad, and I'm like, I really didn't care for the song that much.
it would be just so you know, like the Arkells, it's Fry.
Well, there we go. So
So,
Hey, at least you didn't screw up the whole album, the band name.
yeah,
yeah,
right.
yeah,
Only one
I don't
guy.
have all of Hamilton coming after me. I just have the entire generation.
See, when you said that, all I could think is Alexander Hamilton, Aaron Burr, all of them just coming at me with the flintlock pistols.
No, Hamilton, Ontario.
I know.
So,
Not Lin Manuel Miranda.
yeah. How was the production?
Um, so
71.
so if we were gonna go with accessibility from what we used to score it as, I didn't get the original sound out of this. I ended up having to settle for finding a remastered version.
Okay, so you saw okay.
So I flopped on the
Not bad.
production here a little bit, and I
is
got
better.
what was a very much more uncut sound. However, trying to put my mind in vinyl mode and understanding technology of how it would be produced from that era, I could still see that this would be a very good album from a production standpoint there. I don't think there's anything that the remaster really cleaned up that would make me think the album changed per se. So I gave it a 4.
Okay. When we did the albums of the Eagles and we did the cataloging, we all agreed that the remaster, the what they call it, Legacy set. I think it's Legacy.
Yeah.
It is really well done.
Yeah. Like so I just played like I'm not going to give it a perfect score because I know it is a remaster version.
But yeah, but the original
I'm gonna play it
is
safe though and say the original's not that far off of this either.
Maybe.
So yeah, it was a really good album. Like it was an easy listen. It wasn't me going through the band catalog again where I'm going through 41 songs. It was a nice 10 tracker. I could get into this. It was good. Going into another end of our scoring, I like it. And I could easily see myself re-listening to this album again. I could. I genuinely thought it was good. So I would not be surprised. Will I be maybe a little selective and favor a couple tracks more than others? Sure, probably. That's just the nature of how I listen to music too. But yeah, it was overall a good album. I don't know that I'd listen to it in its entirety. I would probably break it up and be like, yeah, I'm in the mood for this kind of sound that came from it. And then, maybe some days I need to unwind, have a beer, and take it easy. It's the perfect song to throw on and kick back and just relax to. So
I think it's telling you exactly what to do. So you're there.
Yeah. But I'm just, it's where the mood matches up to it. So yeah, it was a great recommendation. It was a good album. It's one that I never listened to in full. And I can easily say, it was quality.
Yeah, well, I'm glad. I honestly kind of thought I was gonna get a lot of, man, the Eagles were so overrated, but
no,
I'm pleasantly surprised.
Hard to overrate the Eagles.
It's hard to overrate a band where a band named itself the Eagles of Death Metal because they thought they were the Eagles of a genre. Like that,
yeah.
It's hard to overrate a band who has another band name themselves that over that.
Yeah, true.
So, I don't think there was anything. I think the nice part about being ignorant to that era of music for me, or at least not always listening to stuff from that era, is I kind of like that I can listen to something from back then that many years ago and it feels new to me in my mind. And I have that feeling.
Well, there's a
nice.
whole lot more to explore, let me tell you. They're still coming up with albums from the 70s that never really got the time of day. Or 60s for crying out loud.
See, that's funny because like all my friends are like, I'm so excited for this new album to come out from the artists I love. I'm like, all the artists I like are dead, broken up, or in prison.
You'll never see them live.
Nope. The Eagles are as close as I'm gonna get, and I'm fine with that.
Fine with that? Well, we'll try to help you along, Everett.
If Boston comes to town, or somebody who had a couple,
you should have been here when it was the Lockport concert series in our hometown here. It was pretty much just a revival of who's still alive and still together. And Lou Graham's not even with Foreigner anymore. Just bring him solo. Let's go. Like they just pulled anyone. One of the bands.
Oh, Lou Graham. You had what's his name from Triumph?
Oh, fuck. Well, I was gonna say one of my favorite acts.
Yeah, Frampton.
One of my favorite acts from that series that I didn't realize I would have liked is the Cult. Thought it was awesome.
They're not that old.
No, but they're not new.
I'm old.
No, but they're not new by any means. But they had stuff that I was like, whoa, this is holy shit, these guys are good live.
Oh, geez, now I have an album listen challenge for him, just thinking about. On that note, I will thank my panelists, Alex and Everett, for doing the show today. It's good to get everybody together. We're trying to get new people that have never faced each other yet. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Who that is remains a mystery. Sometimes
even to us,
cooperations of time can change things. But anyway, thank you for joining us here on Album Listen Challenge. Check us out on BeyondYourRadio.com. Articles there and links to all the shows. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course YouTube. Just to give you a what's coming up. Every day is album for today. Today's record, let's see. Oh, TV on the radio. TV on the
And he was
radio.
worried about being old if I called the Colt old.
Yeah, TV on the radio's return to Cookie Mountain. So also coming up on Saturday, album review Saturday, the latest concept album, rock opera from Steve Hackett of Genesis, who was kicked out of the band and probably shouldn't have been. The Hillbilly Moon Explosion. Yeah, never heard of them, I bet. Right? Yeah. Well, you will when we're done. And then of course, we're going to take on a big dose of Eisenhahn.
Not Eisenhower.
No, Norwegian metal. Ooh, look out. Here we go. And that's a double album. The other side of the album, completely orchestral. And we're probably going to add 3 more. And I think Dam will be joining me as she has the last 2. She's going to make it a hat trick, maybe. Unknown Sunday, get ready. Okay. I'm going to be joined by the Grateful Dude and I believe Jeff Young. They're both going to be in Miami. They're coming in, and the band is Bad English.
Oh, they will.
I'm sure my
so
my 2 on this panel are like, what? Who's that? On that note, of course, we love you to go beyond your radio with us, a real music appreciation channel. Until next time, happy listening.